Good afternoon and welcome to Channel 1 Lunchtime News on this 14th day of December 2020. On a very busy day, I should say. Of course, we are expecting the healthcare workers who have been on the strike. This today being the start of the second week. They had talked about actually addressing the press and holding peaceful demonstration. Of course, when we talk about matters politics, the MSAMBWENI by-election final touches are just being concluded. We have a comprehensive news bulletin right here on Channel 1, and also have business and sports. And also, let me remind you that a little bit later, we will be having a very interesting conversation about artificial intelligence. You must have seen, perhaps in your phone or in your device, what does it mean? What can it do? What is the impact of AI here in Kenya? We'll be having a very, very interesting conversation, but that's much, much later. And of course, all the latest sporting action. Welcome. My name is Njue, and Simon Karoda is my colleague handling the sign language interpretation. And talking about politics, we now cross over to MSAMBWENI, where our reporter Michael Mwadiga is on standby to give us the latest on the last-minute preparations there. Mwadiga, if you can hear me, kindly update us.
Good afternoon to you, Ben Troy. We are coming to you live from Dr. Babla Secondary School. This is a tying center here in the MSAMBWENI by-elections. And as things are now, it is all systems go, because right behind me, as my cameraman will show you, the polling clerks are already picking their staff so that they head to their stations. And we had earlier on been briefed by the returning officer, Mr. Yusuf Abubakar, who told us what is happening at the moment. They have 120 polling centers and 120 polling stations, and as it is now, all protocols and everything has been observed. The security apparatus has been deployed, no need to worry on anything about security. And as we are at the moment, we are having these by-elections amidst the pandemic, and now is that everything has been organized. There'll be a special clerk who will be taking care of the new normal, and of course there are ambulances which are dispatched in various centers to help just in case there will be if there will be any cases which they need, which will need immediate attendance, or any emergency cases, to be precise. So at the moment, it is all systems go. The security apparatus, as I said earlier on, has been deployed. The polling clerks have already been debriefed on what is expected of them. And as from tomorrow early at 5 a.m. they will start voting here in MSAMBWENI by-election. As I had alluded earlier on, in MSAMBWENI there are 4 wards. There is Kinondo ward, then there is Ukunda, there is Bomba, Gombato. These are the wards here in MSAMBWENI. There are 4 vast wards, and they have 69,000 registered voters. And in a minute here, I'll be joined by the returning officer, Mr. Yusuf Abubakar, who will just brief me at the moment. What are the plans? What have they planned at the moment regarding what is going at the moment? And I'm hereby joined by Mr. Yusuf himself. Mr. Yusuf, kindly brief us. Now the polling clerks are already picking their staff. What next? Okay, these are not polling clerks. These are presiding officers and deputy presiding officers. They are just checking the materials that we've provided them, so that they know that whatever that they are taking to the polling stations is enough. We have given them the material, so they are confirming if everything is in order. After that, we'll give them these ballot papers that are here. We'll open the ballot papers in front of agents. Then we release them. We'll pair them with the security personnel, because each station has at least a police officer or 2. So we'll pair them, the POs, with their security personnel. Then they'll proceed to their stations at least by 4 p.m. Yes. Yes, so asante sana. That is Mr. Yusuf Abubakar himself, just stating things straight on what is at the moment. So far, they'll be picking their staff, as my cameraman showed you, and going to their relevant stations. Of course, we'll be giving you details as events unfold here in MSAMBWENI. You have already been told that in these elections we expect fairness, and there's nothing. That's what we have for now, and we'll more details as events unfold here in MSAMBWENI. Back to you, Ben Troy.
Thank you so much. That was Michael Mwadiga, my colleague, live from MSAMBWENI. You do remember that they will be headed to elect a new member of parliament starting tomorrow 5 a.m. Points to note that the presiding officers have been briefed and the security has been heightened, not to mention 120 polling stations, and everything is set. Thank you, Mwadiga, for that comprehensive report. From Mombasa to Nairobi, where you do remember this is the start of the second week of the healthcare workers strike, and Karo Kamau is following keenly. They had talked about addressing the press and also holding peaceful demonstration. Karo, if you can hear me, kindly bring us up to speed with the latest.
A very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Ben Troy, as you rightfully said, we are at ATHI House right here in Nairobi. And you can see behind us, or from the pictures you just saw, health workers still holding their demos, trying to push the government to address the issues that they have raised. This is the second week of that nationwide health workers strike that has carried with it Kenya, the clinical officers and nurses in the country. I'm now joined by Morris Opetu. Morris Opetu is the Deputy SG, Kenya National Union of Nurses, to talk to us about the issues at hand, and of course to talk to us about what they feel is the government listening to you, or what exactly is your message today. This is week 2. Where do you stand?
Thank you very much. I want to say that the nurses of this nation are not happy. We are saddened by the number of deaths of Kenyans in general and the number of deaths among health workers. As we talk today, we have lost 32 nurses to COVID-19. And this is not just a number to be whisked away. It is very unfortunate that we are losing such kind of numbers of health workers who should be giving health services to Kenyans just due to neglect. We are also saddened by the kind of sentiments that are coming from the leaders of this nation. I will start with the sentiments of our Minister Mutahi Kagwe. We have always respected him, and is a guy we have taken with a lot of values to health. But it looks like he's not now understanding what is going on the ground. When he says that we should be not saying that we are not covered well, we are not protected well, and we should be calling his office. How is it practical that every nurse, every health worker who is feeling unprotected can be reaching the minister one-on-one? It is impossible. We have always asked for protection. It is 9 months down the line, and we have not been answered. So this is why we have decided that on 7th of this month we had to down our tools so that we can come out and cry from outside, so that the people of this nation, the leaders of this nation, can listen to us. But then they are not listening to us. They are just putting bad sentiments to us. The minister is saying that health workers are dying of infections they are getting from bars and from public places like any other place. We are telling the minister that it is not true that we are dying from infections we are getting from bars and other public places. We are dying from infections of COVID-19 that we are contracting at our places of work. We are the frontline health workers who are prone to high risks. So that is why we are telling him that his sentiments that he made yesterday are misplaced, and he should reconsider as a minister who is overall policymaker in health.
Okay, this is week 2 since the strike began. Has there been any effort from the ministry or from the Ministry of Labour to sort of bring you to the table and negotiate so that you guys can go back to work? Because, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Has there been any effort from the side of government?
It is in the public domain that the leaders of this nation have actually ignored the health workers. But we are saying that they cannot achieve anything in this nation if the health workers are not working and serving the Kenyans. We have seen the Minister for Labour call us for meetings, but then in those meetings, some of the ministries and departments which are very relevant to solve our issues have been missing. But we appreciate the efforts of the Labour Minister, and we hope from tomorrow we shall be moving on. So we are telling the other departments that are concerned that they should treat this matter with a lot of seriousness so that we can sit down, we resolve our issues, so that we can feel protected and motivated so that we can go back to work.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
All right, that was Maurice Opetu, the Deputy SG, Kenya National Union of Nurses, saying, that they feel that the government is not listening to their grievances, and of course saying that they will stay put until the issues they've raised have been addressed to the letter. Well, that's it from me on this end. We will be doing much more. We will be heading to Parliament a little later with the health workers, of course, to also petition Parliament. And of course, I'll be giving you details of that in subsequent bulletins. For now, back to you, Ben Troy, in studio.
Thank you, Carol, for that report. And as you have seen, the healthcare workers, they are staging a demonstration at Afia House, urging the government to hear their cry. They've talked about the harsh working conditions that they are working under right now as the COVID-19 pandemic still ravages not only Kenya but the entire world. And of course, they will be petitioning Parliament later in the day, and they had talked about holding also peaceful demonstration in the capital, Nairobi. Of course, Carol will be coming with a much comprehensive report much later. Remember, you are watching this live newscast from the Broadcasting House in the county of Nairobi. We're taking a short break. We will be right back with more news.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Enjoy the magic of Christmas with Coca-Cola.
Ni mimi. Ulitoa pikipiki? Mulitani sitaomoka. Ni yako. Hii nduzi ni yangu. Niliwahi pale Quickbit. Quickbit? Quickbit imekuja kusaidia wananchi kama sisi. Nilinunua 399 shillings. Juu nilikuwa the lowest unique bidder. 399 shillings. Quickbit shilingi moja unaweza nunua pizza. Shilingi mbili unaweza nunua microwave. Shilingi tano unaweza nunua hata gari. So tupeleke huko hata mtu aende huko.
Jiunga na Quickbit ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill, kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account, weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano, TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbit.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. Quickbit, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Welcome back, and thanks for keeping it Channel 1. Let's now focus on security matters, where security agencies in Busia have been urged to beef up security in public places and high traffic areas as the Christmas season approaches. Busia County Commissioner Joseph Kanyiri urged law enforcers to remain alert as they focus on the fight against the coronavirus pandemic.
Security operators across the country are on high alert to ensure law and order is maintained during the festive season, even as the war against COVID-19 continues. Speaking in Busia during the implementation of the action plan for the devolved unit, Busia County Commissioner Joseph Kanyiri urged the law enforcers to remain alert.
We'd want more so at this point we are moving to a festive season. Our guards at various places should pay attention to the two things: COVID-19, taking temperature is okay, ensuring people walking into supermarkets and public places have sanitized and observing the numbers. And of course, ensuring that we maintain optimal security and we don't create gaps that can be exploited by people with terror mind, terror inclination to cause insecurity situations in Busia.
Kanyiri, who also promised to ensure the implementation of the security action plan, also urged area residents not to lower their guard in the war against COVID-19.
We will move forward. We have looked at our action plan in this area, and moving forward, we are going to implement the same and reporting on what we have done. What gets measured gets done. This seems.
Champions of Peace Programs Director Elio Pondo stated that they were working closely with the National Center Terrorism Center and the Netherlands government to support 10 Western counties in the war against radicalization.
To support the counties in Western Kenya region through building their capacity and ensuring all sectors, as per the law, we cannot shrink the pool of radicalization if one sector is doing it. And that's why we call upon the multi-sectoral approach to be able to implement this county action plan.
Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
To politics now, where leaders and residents of Garissa County have invigorated their push for the creation of an additional constituency in the region. Led by Garissa County Deputy Governor Abdi Dagane and Ijara MP Sophia Abdunur, the residents have called for the proponents of the constitution review to consider splitting Ijara constituency into two. Meanwhile, Ugunja MP Opiyo Wandayi has hit out at IEBC for purporting that it lacks funds to conduct a verification exercise of the Building Bridges Initiative signatures.
Leaders and residents of Garissa County said Ijara constituency recorded a population of 134,000 persons in the 2019 Housing and Population Census, hence the need to split it into two.
So our appeal is to His Excellency the President and Right Honorable Raila Odinga to consider Ijara be divided into an extra constituency, namely Hulugo constituency.
Ni haki yetu. President Uhuru, sisi tumesimama na baba yako, tumesimama na wewe na Right Honorable Odinga, Raila Odinga, tunataka tupate haki yetu.
When the BBI task force sought the views of locals, among the proposals were the elevation of Ijara to a county or creation of a new constituency to be named Hulugo. The drafters of the report, however, proposed the creation of one additional constituency in the entire northeastern region. Meanwhile, Ugunja MP Opiyo Wandayi has hit out at the IEBC for purporting to lack funds for the verification of BBI signatures. Speaking at St. Andrew's Catholic Church in Bondo, the legislator argued that the signature verification exercise should not take IEBC more than 1 week.
And the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury has got power under Article 223 of the Constitution to allocate funds to the IEBC even during this Christmas time, for them to accomplish that task of verifying the signatures. Parliament will come and regularize later when we come back from recess. That task of verifying the signatures should not take more than 1 week.
And the National Cohesion and Integration Commission has been urged to work with leaders and citizens in taming hate speech, especially during this constitutional review season.
And I want to believe this roadmap must be a roadmap which must be designed in mind with all the leaders. I say that because having to go to places like Marsabit, I realize in Marsabit, it is not the issue only of terrorists and other criminal gangs, but there's another problem. The problem is the leaders.
Speaking in his Kiamba constituency, National Assembly Administration and Security Chairperson Paul Koinange urged NCIC and security agencies to rein in on politicians inciting violence and conflict among Kenyans. Kevin Washira, Lunchtime News.
To other matters now, private school owners in Nyeri County have welcomed the directive by President Uhuru Kenyatta to have schools reopened on 4th January 2021. The proprietors say the resumption of learning will go a long way in creating job opportunities for thousands of Kenyans disenfranchised by the coronavirus pandemic.
The full resumption of learning in January next year is expected to bring some much-needed relief to private schools across the country. The lengthy suspension of learning saw some private schools closed indefinitely, while others were forced to adopt sweeping austerity measures. To comply with social distancing requirements, Lincoln Njue says his school has constructed additional classrooms and increased the number of teachers.
We have started this section for the CBC classes to ensure that there is a social distance observed in the upper primary. I can also say that as far as the school, we have also added manpower to ensure that we have so many other classes that were not there, just to ensure that we observe the social distance. On sanitation, we have ensured that we have added over 50 water points that are working with soap and sanitizer.
Esther Wangare Mwangi, the head teacher at Shalom Group of Schools in Narumoru, says the school has adhered to all health guidelines to ensure safety of pupils.
We are well prepared. We have enough facilities. We have enough classes. Our dormitories are adequate. Dining hall is quite large. And we are well prepared with all the protocols that are being required by the Ministry of Health.
As schools wait reopening, the government has maintained that safety of learners remain paramount and will not hesitate to take drastic measures to ensure it succeeds in that endeavor.
And still on education, 2 students from Osen High School in Baringo North have been feted as the best runners-up in the Young Kenya Scientist Awards. The initiative gives young people from across Kenya an opportunity to demonstrate innovation and showcase their scientific talents through a national science and technology competition. Jessica Kaptalai and Betty Kimolos made a case for themselves by using NGOINGWA, a weed found in Baringo Highlands, to make mouthwash used by the community for dental hygiene.
Jessica Kaptalai and Betty Kimolos of Osen High School in Baringo County are celebrating after their mouthwash innovation project scooped awards in the Young Kenya Scientist Awards, held online owing to COVID-19 safety protocols. In the rapid growth of the world of science and innovation, which seeks to solve problems faced by communities, the two came up with ways of using NGOINGWA, a weed found in Baringo Highlands, for dental hygiene. Speaking after being feted, the two said their curiosity was sparked after seeing their grandfather use the NGOINGWA plant to brush his teeth. A research on the weed found the presence of vitamin C and chloride, which aid in dental hygiene.
The aim of our project was to make organic mouthwash. After we had extracted the roots of the plant, or the NGOINGWA plant, we were able to obtain the filtrate. And in the filtrate, we tested the presence of chloride ions, the oxidizing agents, and vitamin C. And all of them were present.
The extract from this plant, its solution. If you test this solution, like for us, we test the presence of vitamins, oxidizing agent, and a chloride. Then we tested using the diclofenac and the phenol. That was CPIP. We tested for vitamin C, and it was present. That vitamin C helps to neutralize the oxygen produced by cellular metabolism by the food in the mouth. It neutralizes the oxygen. Then the chlorides present helps to reduce the acid formed by bacteria in the mouth, which causes tooth plaque.
Osen High School Principal Rosemary Kuto say they're excited to play a critical role in assisting the country attain Vision 2030.
For the country to achieve Vision 2030, it takes science and technology towards the same. And so as a school, we are so privileged that we have taken seriously to nurture our young girls to become young scientists with the hope that they're going to provide solutions to some of the challenges in a dynamic society.
The Young Scientists Kenya is an initiative of both the Ministry of Health and the Government of Ireland through the Embassy of Kenya and with the support from Blaze by Safaricom and other partners. For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Proprietors of NGOINGWA land buying company in Thika, Kiambu County are refuting claims of land grabbing. The group comprising of elderly women argue that accusations were unfounded and aimed at defaming the organization.
For over 40 years, this group of elderly women have managed NGOINGWA land buying company in Thika. The women claim some individuals are keen on defaming the company, adding that the group has toiled for years to develop the land.
Yule mtu mwenye hii shamba anakuja kusema mlinyang'anya mimi shamba yangu kwa sababu mko na deni, ndio hapo ingekuwa na ukweli. Lakini sasa sisi hatuna deni ya mtu, isipokuwa ile tu inaingia sasa kwa vile tuna ile bado kulipa na ni ya makesi ile tunawekelewa, na sasa tukawekelewa nini, na sisi tulikuwa tunamaliza kazi, tunaendelea tufunge kazi tuondoke kwa sababu tumemaliza.
Sisi hawana wezi, tunaiba kitu ya nani, ni shamba ya nani tunaiba nini? Na wale meba yetu iko na haki yake, tunaiba nini? Na habana chukua broti ya mbeba tukausha.
Madirectors tunafanya kazi tukisikizana. Madirectors tunalinda haki ya kila mnyonge wetu, na wakati huu tunawangoja wamalizie kulete mapendekezo yao, mahitaji yao, ndio tuwamalizie kazi yao, tufunge kampuni.
The development coming following a confrontation between the company's spokesperson, former Thika Mayor David Njue, and Thika Municipality MCA Anthony Kimani. Area residents are also reported to have demolished a building alleging it was constructed on land set aside for a playground which was sold illegally to the group.
Inaibiwa mashamba yote ambayo tulitenga, tuliweka katika kwa mapendekezo yetu na malilio ya serikali, tuliweka kwa titles za kikampuni, ndio sisi wenyewe tuweke katika mikono ya wale ambao kama ni kanisa gani, na hiyo iko katika kiwazi.
Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
Moving on, over 700 youth in Kirinyaga and Embu counties have undergone training on proper handling of animals to boost livestock farming and improve their livelihoods. The initiative by a non-governmental organization targeted, among others, young youth who are undergoing rehabilitation from drug and alcohol abuse.
Reports of cruelty against animals have decreased over the years, attributed to continued training on the need to care for animals to boost production. In efforts to further sensitize communities on the need to care for animals, a non-governmental organization partnered with other stakeholders in the livestock sector to launch what was aimed at improving the welfare of donkeys in Kirinyaga and Embu counties.
Kuelimisha vijana kuhusu mambo dawa za kulevya, kuacha dawa za kulevya, kwa sababu tuliona kwamba vijana wengi ambao wanaendesha punda wanatumia madawa ya kulevya, na wanapotumia haya madawa wanachapa punda sana na wanaendesha punda zao vibaya sana.
Wacha punda ni mnyama, atunze mzuri ndio hata wewe mwenyewe kuletea nini? Faida.
The stakeholders highlighting incidents involving animal cruelty have decreased owing to the development to sensitize individuals on proper handling of animals, as well as counseling and rehabilitating those abusing drugs and alcohol while handling animals, as well as constructing animal shelters.
Punda wengi hawana vidonda na hawa punda wanatunzwa vizuri, na wenyewe vijana wanaendelea kutunza punda wao vizuri. So sahi tunaweza sema kuchapa punda imeshuka sana.
tumeshafahamu kwamba wengi wamebadilika katika Kirinyaga hii. Wameachana na kuimba, wameachana na pombe, wameachana na dawa za kulevya, na sasa wamekuwa watu wengine.
Tunasherekea, tunawapatia certificates na pia hata tunawapatia punda ili waendeleze ile kilimo ya punda.
The group saying the program has benefited the community as the number of theft of donkeys in the community have reduced. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
Elsewhere, residents of ATHI River in Machakos County have called on the National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, to move with speed and curb runaway environmental pollution in the area. The residents are accusing industrial companies operating in the area of exposing them to diseases through reckless disposal of hazardous wastes. This is the situation residents of ATHI River say they have to endure on a daily basis. Massive pollution of the environment through reckless disposal of industrial waste.
Kwa naombaje hii maji yenye inatoka kwa kampuni kwa sababu inaenda kwa mto, na hiyo mto ndio tunategemea kwa usafi na kunyunyuzia pia mimea huku maji. Kama kuna venye inaweza treatiwa, isikuwe inaenda hiyo waste upate ati inaingia kwa maji direct ikiwa kama chemical. Na pia waangalie pia hiyo harufu yenye inanuka na hiyo moshi inaachiliwa, kuna venye pia ina affect watu.
The locals say the obtaining situation has left them badly exposed to diseases.
Ni maji baya na kuwaka na sumu, hata hii kuikananga mkuu wenyewe ama kuishika hivi maji yenyewe na kumbambuaga ngozi. Sasa pali pollution iko, si watu wengi wamesoma wakajua kweli kwamba kama acid ni mbaya. Hayo unapata hata huku, hata kuna watoto huwa wanachezea huku. Unaona? Sasa huyu wakikuja contact na hiyo acid, unajua tena inakuwa mbaya mpaka inawadhuru.
The residents are accusing companies operating in the area of brazenly disobeying the law. In calling for the intervention of the National Environment Management Authority, the residents say they are growing tired of inaction from the law enforcers. For Channel 1 News, I'm Njue. U.S. President Donald Trump has reversed a plan for White House officials to receive the coronavirus vaccine in the coming days. Officials had said senior members of the Trump administration would be among the first people to be given the Pfizer-BioNTech jab. President Trump, however, says he has asked for an adjustment to be made to the plans.
The first 3 million doses of the vaccine are currently being distributed to dozens of locations in all 50 states across the U.S. The vaccine, which offers up to 95% protection against COVID-19, was deemed safe by U.S. regulators on Friday and will begin to be rolled out in the country on Monday. The rollout has been framed as a turning point in the coronavirus pandemic, which has taken the lives of almost 300,000 people in the U.S. Meanwhile, Germany is to go into a lockdown from 16th December to 10th January as the number of deaths and infections from the coronavirus reaches record levels. Chancellor Angela Merkel blamed Christmas shopping for considerable rise in social contacts as the latest figures show 20,200 more infections and a further 321 deaths. Elsewhere, Eswatini Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini has died 4 weeks after he tested positive for coronavirus. A government statement said Dlamini, aged 52, died on Sunday afternoon in a hospital in South Africa. No cause of death was mentioned, but Dlamini had recently been receiving treatment for COVID-19 in South Africa. Finally, a British espionage writer John Lockhart has died aged 89 following a short illness, his literary agent has said. A statement shared on behalf of the author's family said Lockhart passed away from pneumonia on Saturday night after a short battle with the illness. Several of Lockhart's 25 works were turned into films, including The Constant Gardener, The Tailor of Panama, and Tinker, Tailor, a Soldier and Spy.
At about 34 minutes past the hour, you're taking another quick break. But don't forget that we are also live on other social media platforms, on Facebook, on Twitter, and also on YouTube. Let's have that break.
Ni mimi. Ulitoa pikipiki? Mlitani sitaomoka. Ni yako? Hii nduti ni yangu. Niliwahi pale Quickbit.
Quickbit?
Quickbit imekuja kusaidia wananchi kama sisi. Nilinunua 399 shillings. Juu nilikuwa the lowest unique bidder.
399 shillings.
Quickbit shilingi moja unaweza nunua pizza. Shilingi 2 unaweza nunua microwave. Shilingi 5 unaweza nunua hata gari.
So tupeleke huko hata
mtu aende huko.
Jiunga na Quickbit ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbit.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. Quickbit, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Niko poa. Mambo ma workout. The second he starts being associated with corner.
I know what I'm doing. What's wrong with you?
I mean, lazima grow up what you behave kama mtoi. If anything happens to anyone in life, I will hunt you down.
Smile! You're winner! Champion! Just smile!
Simon broke up with me.
Zito, mbona udhika sana hivyo ukiniona mimi na Pami pamoja?
You knew the terms of this deal.
Welcome back. We are glad you're watching. Moving on, Nanyuki Town, one of Kenya's most valued and famous towns, is marking its 100 years since it was established by the colonial government in 1920. Speaking during the celebrations dubbed Nanyuki at 100, Environment Cabinet Secretary Kariako Tobiko said it was unfortunate that the town had lost its glory due to the destruction of the environment that has dealt a big blow to its magnificent rivers.
Nanyuki Town, which saw the settlement of British immigrants in 1907 during the early days of colonial era, has marked 100 years. Nanyuki at 100! During the celebration, a handbook that contains the history of the town since its inception by the colonial government in 1920 was also unveiled.
Appreciating, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now, a century down the line, the town has undergone various developments. However, concerns have been raised over its current status of natural resources. Environment Cabinet Secretary Kariako Tobiko, who was the chief guest during the celebrations, says most of the town's rivers have been depleted, expressing disappointment over neglect by locals.
I do not wish to repeat what has been said about environment, because no one needs to be told why we must protect, conserve our environment. And it is a joint and shared responsibility.
The CS noting that everything possible should be done to enable the town reclaim its former glory. Nanyuki Governor Ndiritu Muriithi said residents and neighboring communities have been embroiled in water-related conflicts that further affect efforts to conserve the environment and water towers.
Some resource conflicts that you are all aware of, particularly if you examine the area between Laikipia and Baringo. The conflicts that occur there between communities are generally driven by scarcity of resource, particularly water.
The leaders further saying the situation is slowly worsening as there is little or no water in the rivers to sustain those depending on them.
And you will see it this January, this February, the tensions that come because the water that is getting through is not enough.
And more so, the conservation of Nanyuki River. A lot of us who live downstream, and Governor, you know, for the last few years, by January, we don't have water down in Gogodo and its environs.
CS Tobiko, however, says all is not lost, noting that Laikipia County government has already signed the transition implementation mechanism with the ministry. On Friday, the county unveiled the town's first ever monument in commemoration of the 100 years. The headstone in its pyramid shape has singled Nanyuki from the globe, Kenyan map, Laikipia map, and finally a representation of the famed Nanyuki town. Kamche Mensa for Channel 1 News.
And in business, the first of the Kenyan families of victims of the deadly Ethiopian airline flight 302 plane crash have received part of a multi-million US dollar amount estimated at $1 billion as a record-breaking settlement payment from airport manufacturer Boeing Company. This is the first Ethiopian Air Flight 302 case to settle from dozens of lawsuits filed in a U.S. federal court in Chicago against Boeing on behalf of victims' families in the aftermath of two fatal crashes involving the same Boeing 737 MAX model plane. After nearly 2 years and two deadly crashes which killed 346 people, and the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration has cleared Boeing 737 MAX for flight, lawyers have been seeking reasonable and fair compensation in the courts in Chicago for the families of the victims of these tragedies. According to sources familiar with the case, the Kenyan victims' family will get around 335 million shilling settlement, which has taken nearly 2 years to materialize and is sought to be the largest amount possible to be paid as compensation to the families represented.
In this case, we have achieved the first settlements because of the volume of claims that we have. We represent the largest number of people affected by both plane crashes, the one in Indonesia and the one in Africa.
The Ethiopian Airlines jet headed for Nairobi, Kenya, crashed shortly after takeoff from Addis Ababa Bole International Airport, killing all 149 on board, including 32 Kenyans. At least 30 nationalities were on board.
Our clients, many of our clients, wish to put an end to these cases already. It's been a long time, and it's very difficult for them to be dealing with these same issues and the memories of their beloved ones on a regular basis. So long as we achieve the results that they wanted, as far as compensation, and so long as the manufacturers and the airlines change the way they operate, our clients are satisfied with.
Manuel von Riebeck of Riebeck Law Chartered said the settlement payments achieved by Riebeck Law has established a fund to help the communities of the families affected by the crashes. Kenyan clients received grant funds from Boeing to improve their communities. Lawyers say the Boeing company should not be greatly affected by the compensation, adding that most of the payments will be made by the insurance and the reinsurance companies, and as stated by Wall Street firms, Boeing can afford that cost. Boeing has posted record revenues of $101 billion last year and $10.6 billion in profits. Elsewhere, stocks began a busy week with guarded gains as investors gauged the chance of added U.S. fiscal and monetary stimulus, while the British pound rose in relief as last-gasp extension to Brexit talks dodged a hard divorce. Details of this and other stories in our Global Business Roundup.
Progress on coronavirus vaccines cheered risk sentiment with the first shipment speeding across the United States as a part of a historic mission to inoculate more than 100 million people by the end of March. E-mini futures for the S&P 500 responded by rising 0.5%, while March Treasury bond futures slipped 4 points. Euro stocks of 50 futures added 0.5% and FTSE futures 0.1%. MSCI's Broadex Index of Asia Pacific shares outside Japan edged up 0.1%, having hit a string of record highs last week. Meanwhile, Honda has said its British car plant will restart production on Monday after problems importing parts had halted output since Wednesday. The Japanese company said in a statement on Sunday it had told its staff at Swindon plant full production operations will resume in all areas. Congestion at UK ports and delays in the arrival of ships disrupted Honda's just-in-time production schedules. A number of companies have reported congestion at ports increasing. And Indonesia has put itself forward as a possible rocket launch site for Elon Musk's SpaceX venture. The Southeast Asian country is already in talks with Musk's Tesla about a possible electric battery partnership. According to Indonesia's Coordinating Ministry for Maritime and Investment Affairs, President Joko Widodo has been in discussions with Musk. The Tesla billionaire is sending a team to Indonesia in January to look at potential investments, it added. One option to be discussed is building a plant in central Java. Indonesia is home to large deposits of copper, nickel and tin and aims to become the world's biggest producer of electric vehicle batteries.